Leaders, real life leaders.
Hey guys, a lot of times you hear me interviewing lots of amazing guests, but today you get to hear me being interviewed by someone else. Check it out.
Welcome everyone to another amazing episode of Referrals Podcast. Yes, I know every one of these is amazing and it's going to be amazing even before the amazing part happens. Today, we're going to talk about everything but sex. That's right. We are not going to talk about sex. We are going to talk about everything but sex. And when I mean that, we're going to talk about delegating everything but sex. A new book that's coming out that you need to get. Today, we dive deep into everything but sex with the best-selling author, and I cannot wait to introduce you to her. For some of you, you may remember she was on not too long ago. But before I do that, I've got to give a huge shout out to Janelle Elias, who is in the process of Summerfest, our big giant July summer challenge. It's a 30-day challenge. Every day they get a little challenge. They've got to complete it. There's accountability. Toughest challenge we've ever done. And Janelle says the following: best Summerfest challenge so far has been writing out the halftime activity calendar. And that might be a great activity for you, is look at the rest of your weeks of the year and write out what you're going to accomplish that week, especially when it comes to lead generation. That was one of the activities as part of Summerfest. Very, very cool activity. Janelle said, really forcing myself to put a date to some of these events and activities I keep meaning to do helped really light a fire under me to do it now. And many of you know, do it now is our mantra here at the Generosity Generation. Speaking of do it now, you don't have a lot of time left to register for Referral Mastery Summit. It's coming up quick, September 27th through the 29th in Atlanta, Georgia, at the beautiful Omni Centennial Park in downtown Atlanta, Georgia. By the way, a very short trip from the ATL airport. Also, you can use rms2024.com, rms2024.com. Use the code RMS Podcast for half-price general admission ticket just through the end of this week. So, RMS Podcast, use that code at rms2024.com. Join us and hundreds of like-minded individuals who are building their database and getting referrals from their sphere. They're maximizing their community in a great way and maximizing the number of referrals they're getting. Make sure you sign up for that ASAP. Speaking of ASAP and stuff that you've signed up for or should, today we have a lovely, lovely guest. Our guest today is known for her love of delegation. People often joke that she delegates everything but sex, and that is exactly what inspired the title of her latest book. She believes that success isn't about working harder or finding more time to work, but about getting others to help you, reducing stress, and maximizing time with friends and family. As an entrepreneur with experience growing companies in over 20 states, she knows what it takes to succeed. She has built multi-million dollar companies while balancing her roles as a mom and a wife. When not delegating, she enjoys playing tennis and giving back to God by supporting organizations that bring people closer to their faith. Without further ado, let's welcome back to the Referrals Podcast, Chantel Ray Finch.
Thank you so much. I love every minute that I get to spend with you. It's such a treat, and I'm so happy to be here. Thanks.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, I love it. I love it. I love the new title, Delegate Everything But Sex. I love the fact that we're going to talk about everything but sex. I love that. I love saying the word sex, even when we're not going to talk about sex at all. I love it. This is not going to be about a sex. So those of you that are watching the closed captioning and looking at the little scrolling words going across the screen that keep saying the word sex, we're not going to talk about sex. We're going to talk about everything except sex, and delegating everything but sex. So, boy, that's a lot of sex right there. I'll leave that alone. So, all right. So welcome back to the podcast. So let's just jump right in and talk about delegation. What is your philosophy on delegation?
Well, first, I would say, a lot of us who are entrepreneurs or business leaders, what happens is we build a business and we grow a business. And what happens is you build a business that you grow to hate. And, I just went out to dinner with some good friends and he told me, he's like, I'm selling my company. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I just literally have gotten to a place where I absolutely hate it. Like I hate going every day. I hate everything about it. So I'm just going to sell it. And I said to him, I said, well, let me ask you this. I said, before you decide that you want to sell it, all these people talk about that there's kind of three categories, right? They say, well, don't work in the business, work on the business. Well, yes, that's true. But there's another level that people don't talk about. And that's just owning the business, right? Where you are not running it either, right? And so I had a guy come to me and we were talking and I was like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. He's like, well, you're still running the business. You want to get to a place where you're not working in it. You're not running it. All you do is own it. And I told him, I said, your business is really profitable right now. Let's just say you're making $100,000 in profit. Okay. Right now, selling a business, you're probably making maybe 2.5, 3 times a return. So that means that you're going to sell the business and you could sell the business for $300,000, let's say, but then that's it. You don't have any money coming in. If you got to a place where you were just owning the business, you gave some equity to this person and that person, and let's say you could still even make $60,000 a year owning the business, but you delegated everything out in that business and you just own the company, would that be an option? And he was like, wow, I never thought of it that way. So I'm really passionate about that. I really think that every entrepreneur and every real estate agent, team owner or leader, they do get to a place where they're like, I hate this, I just burnt myself out.
Yeah, all the fun roles are taken, right? They've kind of cornered them into where they do all the jobs that they hate in some cases, right? It kind of reminds me of the old story about McDonald's, right? Is when you go into McDonald's, what is one thing you won't see ever, right? And people go, well, a nutritional chart. And it's like, no, there's actually one there. But it's like when you go into a McDonald's, like what do you never see? And the answer is the owner. And what's amazing about that is you have to pay $1.5 million to invest in McDonald's to get a McDonald's franchise. I want you to imagine you paid $1.5 million and they said, you can't go. You can't. And not only that, your $1.5 million business is going to be run by a bunch of pimply-faced teenagers. That is scary as heck, right? But that's the difference between running a business and owning a business. Owning a business is you don't have to show up. You don't have to stir. You don't have to be the straw that stirs the drink, right? You can just watch the drink. And
it's exactly it. And that's what I'm so passionate about teaching people how to do. And, I kind of joke what happens is like, let's say you're a team leader or you're just a business owner or whatever. You remember that old commercial? I don't even know where I saw this at, but it's something where they go, like, can I speak to, the manager? And the lady kind of turns around and she wears another hat and she's like, hi, I'm the manager. And then they're like, well, can I speak to the chef? And they're like, turn around, they put on another hat and it's like, here, I'm that. And that's what happens. Literally, you start wearing so many hats because you're not delegating them. And that's when you get to the place where that's when people literally just go, I'm throwing in the towel, I'm done. And it's because they've never learned the art of delegating. And so I'm really passionate about that. And I'm really passionate about getting people to the place where they become a time millionaire. So like a lot of people have gotten to the point where they've become a millionaire, they've made a ton of money, but now they have no time. And the one thing that we all, I mean, I can't create more time by you can get more money, but you have so many, we all have the same amount of hours in the day.
Right.
And it's just how we choose to use them. And so it's just really, that's what the book's all about, is how to become a time millionaire and just how to not hate what you do every day and getting rid of all the things you hate doing and focus on the things that you love. And I will say this, there's one part that I talk about, which I'm very passionate about, because I think that a lot of the leadership podcasts I listen to, and the people are like, well, you need to get rid of every single thing that you don't love to do. If you don't love it, get rid of it. And what I would say is if you can get to a place where 80% of what you're doing you love, that's fantastic. I'm super happy. Because don't be unrealistic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the generosity generation, right? I mean, we teach to build your business on the foundation of love, generosity, and appreciation, right? And it's like, you need to do the things you love and love the things you do. And it's like, you're speaking to my group right now, is you need to get to the point where in your business, you're doing like 80% of the things you're doing, you love to do it. And the other 20, you're going to have to do it anyway. It's fill the gap. It fills the gap between one thing you love and another. It just does. And it's just faster if you do it, and it just links the two together somehow. But the thing is if you don't love it, like you said, there's people out there who have these businesses flourishing, look huge in social media world, and they hate it. They absolutely hate going to work every day, and they hate what they're doing, but they're a prisoner to their own success. They're a prisoner to their own business, and it's super sad. And so let's build from the beginning, right? So what was the first thing that either you delegated, or what in your book do you really go over that a person should delegate first?
Yeah, so I actually talk about 4 things. I talk about eliminate, simplify, automate, and delegate. Because there's some things before you, like, a lot of people are like, all right, I'm just going to delegate this, delegate that, and delegate that. Well, yeah, you should. But first you need to figure out, is there anything we just need to eliminate altogether? And I'll give you a perfect example. One of the things that I don't like when my admin, like let's say one of the managers comes to me and they would say, so-and-so is so overwhelmed. Like, you know how in real estate, business goes up and down, right? So what happens is, like in the springtime, let's say you get all these contracts, the transaction coordinators are swamped. And so I'd be like, order another, or hire another transaction coordinator, or hire another person. And what I learned is, before you hire another person, the very first thing you need to do is write down that person on staff. You need to have them write down every single thing they do. And then go, do we really need them to do that? Like sometimes we had these checklists where it was 20 things on the checklist. And then it was like, they don't need this. They don't need to be doing, like, this is a waste of time. Before you hire another person, let's first work on eliminating some of this stuff that we've been doing for years and years that either AI can now do, we can automate it, we can do this or do that, and get rid of it altogether. If we can't eliminate it, now let's look at some things that we can automate. I mean, we have created so many systems, and there's so many things with AI that we can just automate that we don't need to do anymore. So we can automate that. And then the other thing is just simplifying. One of the things about Amazon that I love is the story of how Jeff Bezos, what he did was he was seeing how people, when they first started with Amazon, they were like, there were so many steps that the customer had to take, right? And so the more time that they had to take all these different steps, the more time the customer could change their mind. And so he got to the place where he is like, we don't need them to fill out so much stuff. Let's come up with a one-click process where it's saves their information so they don't have to sit there. Oh, I'm in bed right now. I don't have my credit card with me. I can't enter that in. They simplified their process so much so that people are like, the easiest way for me to order something is online through Amazon. So like for me, I love Amazon. I click on it, boom, one click, and I've now ordered it. Yep. And so figuring out how you can simplify it. And then if you can't automate it, you can't simplify it, you can't eliminate it. Now the last step is then to delegate.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, is this a business book or is this a personal book? Like, I mean, if you think about it, I remember going to a wealth conference when I was in my early 20s. We're talking a long, long time ago. And the speaker had people stand up. And then if you had something, then you would sit down, right? So, or if you didn't have it. So it was like, all right, so how many of you mow your own lawn, right? And if you mow your own lawn, sit down, right? And then the next one was, how many of you water your own yard, right? And it's like, all right, if you water your own yard, sit down. How many of you clean your own house? If you clean your own house, sit down, right? And the ones at the end, they go, what's your net worth? And they were all over $1 million, right? And it's like, that is so powerful because here's the thing. You talk about eliminate, automate, and simplify. Well, sprinkler system automates your watering, right? And then you're going to delegate the mowing to somebody else. And like, it's what millionaires do. You delegate. I mean, what's interesting, we delegate a lot of stuff and we don't even think about it. Like, who built your car? You didn't build your car. What'd you do? You delegated to someone else to put all the parts together. Why did you do that? Well, because they're better at it than you are. So is this a personal book or is this a business book?
It's really for both. Like,
Yeah.
I give
That's what I'm
examples.
getting out of this.
Yeah, I give examples for if you're a business leader. I'm really a big fan on growing people's leadership. So it will definitely take your leadership to the next level, and it's definitely gives business tips. But even for anyone who is just a personal book, you have so many different things where I talk about. And as far as the business side of things, I always say you can't grow $1 million business doing $10 an hour tasks. You can't do it. It's impossible. And I had a guy come to me and he said, I want to be a millionaire. Can you kind of talk to me about how to do that? And so I said, okay, sure, let's talk about it. And I said, and I gave the example of the mowing of the lawn. I said, let me ask you this. Do you mow your own lawn right now? And he said, yes. And we went through this whole thing and I said, okay, well, if you mow your own lawn, and he said this, he said, well, I kind of like mowing my own lawn. And I said, well, can you come and mow my lawn? And he's like, and he goes, I don't like it that much. I said, then you shouldn't be doing it yourself, right? Because people will make all these excuses. And so in the book, I talk about different villains. And what I talk about is there's different villains every one of us have. So for example, one person will say, well, I can do it better myself, right? And that's like a villain that they have. Or by the time I explain it to so-and-so, I might as well do it myself, right? And so there's all these different villains that will keep you from doing it. And so those are kind of the different things that you have to ask yourself, which villain is holding me back from delegating whatever it is in my life?
Is one of the villains money? Like, there's got to be the money villain.
It's
like,
the cheapskate one.
Yeah, I'm going to do it because otherwise I'd have to pay somebody to do it. Right.
100%.
Even though, like you just said, is you're not going to be a millionaire doing $10 activities, right? And
yes.
We've heard for years, you and I have heard for years in the real estate world is like, if you don't have an assistant, you are an assistant, right?
Absolutely.
And that cuts to the teeth. You're just like, oh, crap. Yep. Good call. All right. Let me ask you that point blank question. Is when you were first growing your real estate business, what was the first hire you made? Was it a transaction coordinator, personal assistant, buyer's agent, listing specialist? What was it?
I hired a full-time admin probably the first week that I got into the business.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
You were way.
And yes, and I hired my first buyer's assistant before I was out of my training class. So back then I worked for a company called William E. Wood at the mall. We had a 3-week in-person one-on-one with the broker. She was absolutely amazing. It was a one-on-one because there was nobody else in the class. It was just me at the time. So for 3 weeks, after my first week, I knew for a fact I hate driving people around. I literally, when I tell you I have like a 2-mile radius that I leave my area and I just drive nowhere. I can't stand driving. So I hired my first buyer's assistant my very first week and a full-time administrative assistant my first week. But I also was Rookie of the Year. I sold 54 houses my first year in real estate.
The only way you could have done that is if you had leverage, right? You delegated a lot of that stuff, and you amazingly, you knew a weakness of yours or a hate of yours right from the get-go. Most agents would have just done it anyway because they just would have thought that's how it's done. Kudos to you for recognizing that so quickly and jumping in. And I was a little surprised it wasn't a transaction coordinator. That was my first hire was a transaction coordinator, and then it was a personal and professional assistant who did.
The admin assistant did everything.
Yeah,
she did it all. She did everything, but she also, because she was 40 hours a week, so she did all of it.
So, all right, what is the first thing someone should delegate? What do you think?
I think the first thing that someone should get is an administrative assistant. Okay. That is step one. And that person also should be a house manager. So you should get, maybe you do, depending on where you are financially, you definitely need a house manager. So for me, I always tell people, I don't even blow dry my own hair. So when I say I delegate, I'm not joking around. I literally do not lift a finger in our house. I don't do laundry. I don't do the lawn. I just don't. I don't do any of the cooking. I don't go to the grocery store for the most part. Every once in a while, if I want to look at new items, I will. Mm-hmm. But I don't do general grocery shopping, Yeah. So I really do. When I say the house manager, our house manager works at our house 40 hours a week, and she is kind of like the CEO of our family. And, she does things like if the dishwasher breaks, I don't call and get the dishwasher fixed. She takes care of that. She doesn't, even for property management, I have rental properties. Our company doesn't do doesn't do property management. I 100% I'm capable of managing my own property.
Right.
Do I do it? Absolutely not. No chance that I'm doing that. And I tell my property manager, I say, don't even call me. Whatever issues you have, go ahead and fix them. I don't want to know about them. So unless it's over $1,000, if it's over $1,000, let me know. But if it's under that, just fix it. Cause I don't even want to know about it. Just take it off the bill and charge me for it. And if it needs to be done, it needs to be done. But again, just responding to an email that the dishwasher is broken, it needs to be fixed. And now I'm taking the time to write, go ahead and fix the dishwasher. It's got to get fixed. Just go ahead and do it. I don't need to know about it. Fix it and take care of it.
Well, what you're saying is this is a conversation that you and I can have, and I think a certain group of people can have. And what you're doing is taking this conversation to the masses. And that's what I really feel like. And the very first, I'm guessing some people, when they first heard that you don't even blow dry your own hair, were somewhat repulsed, right? They were like, oh my God, right? But that's the answer, right? I mean, it really is. The answer is delegate everything except what you love most. And that would be sex for you, obviously. So it's one of those where you have taken this philosophy to the nth level, right? To the end of the earth level. But the thing about it is that, you know, I want to know, how did you conquer the woman and man part of you, right? Where, what are we taught forever? Be useful, be productive. You got to do it. You know, be a hard worker, right? And I think what you've done with this book is you're leading us from the hard work era to the smart work era. You know, I really believe that's the transition that you're helping us all go down. And at first it's a mind-blowing thing, right? I think there's people listening to this right now that I could never delegate someone to blow dry my hair. I could never delegate somebody to do my laundry. I could never and it's like, yes, you can. You can literally delegate everything but sex. And you're, that's what I love about this book, is it's a book about an extreme, but the thing is it's really not that extreme. It's more dream than extreme. It's something that people can do. I love it.
Well, what happens is when people hear this, some people really can hate on me because they can be like, oh my God.
I hate on you anyway.
That's true.
Right? I mean,
That's
like,
true, but
you know.
they can. And what I say is, like, instead of hating, just listen to what I'm saying and go, how can I take wherever I'm at and then take it to the next level, and then take it to the next level, and then keep growing it to the next level? Because for me, my biggest goal is I want to spend more time with my husband, more time with my kids, more time with my friends that I love.
Right.
And if you can get to that place where you go, I really want to do the things that I love, and I want to spend time with the people that I love, and don't get upset with some of these things that I'm not doing that maybe you're still doing. Just go, you know what? The people who really can go, wow, I never even thought to delegate that. Like, I hope when people read the book, they're like, dang, I never even thought about that. Like, the things she delegates, that's amazing. Like, I can be a time millionaire after reading this book. So that's kind of my hope. And I hope I really inspire people to take themselves to the next level on what they truly can delegate.
Well, it's interesting because I don't read my own email. And whenever I tell people that, they're shocked. They're just like, what? Yeah, Tracy goes through all of my email and parses it down to the 1, 2, or 3 things that are important, and we cover it in our call and we're done. Right? And it's people are just like, oh my God. But just imagine how much time I'm saving, not deleting, not putting things in folders, not reading all that useless information, right? Unsubscribing. That was the first. She unsubscribed from like 10,000 lists.
Yeah.
And she first came, and I just said, just unsubscribe from everything, because you're not, who cares if either one of us read it, right? If we really want to read it, we'll go look on the internet. So, I mean, that's a mind-blowing thing for some people, is to delegate email, you know?
And that one is so huge. The reason why that one is so big, because that can take so much of your time. And if people literally get drowned in email, and they spend so much of their time on email that they're not doing the dollar productive activity. So in my book, I talk about $10 an hour tasks, $100 an hour task, $1,000 an hour task, and $10,000 an hour tasks. And when you're reading that, you know, people are like, well, $10 an hour, I can't hire somebody for $10 an hour. And I say, yeah, you can. Actually, we've got a huge team of people in the Philippines that work for $4 an hour. But when I say $10 an hour, just get rid of the actual number 10. It just means this is the level, right? Like $10 an hour, $100 an hour, $1,000.
Anybody can do it.
Yes.
Anybody can do it.
$10,000.
Literally anybody can do it. Anytime, any place, any time of anywhere on the planet. That's the type of
Yes. And I will tell you, I have an entire chapter on how to have a virtual assistant, because even if I have a whole chapter on how to have a virtual team in, the Philippines or India or wherever you want to have it at. It's been one of the best things that our company has ever done. And, a lot of people are like, well, they make all these excuses why they can't do it. And it's unbelievable. I'm not joking you. We have someone from the Philippines that does our accounting, and they do, no joke, 5 times of a better job than we had someone here in the United States do it. And literally, I'm not joking you, we are paying this person $5 an hour. Mm-hmm. And they are 5 to 10 times better than the person that we had. We're paying $80,000 a year, what we were paying our accounting person to do the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. So the amount of money that we have saved our company, and if you do it right, like there's so many like hacks that you can learn on how to do different things so you can work with, because it's a little bit of a transition, right? Like you don't have someone right there. And we talk about how to make those processes so much easier.
What are some tasks that realtors should delegate?
Yeah. So for me, I would say the number one thing that they could do is if they're doing any kind of follow-up email, follow-up text, anything on social media, that they can do, all of those can be easily handed out to someone else. Because again, if you have a process and a system, if you think about it, I'll give you a couple examples. We love to give back to the community, and people know that. So they see how much we like sponsor this and sponsor that. Well, we get emails, tons of them every single week, like, hey, we're doing this event. Would you like to sponsor it? So again, we have automated that. So there's, if they want to go to CanZell.com/donations or CanZell.com/sponsorships, and there's an email that they copy and paste that we've written. So anytime someone asks for that, there's a process and paste. They copy and paste it. They put that in, and there's a specific process in place so they know exactly how to do it. And I would say, you can even just reaching out to follow up on clients. I mean, you can literally outsource all of your transaction coordination. Every bit of that can be outsourced with a virtual assistant. Every piece of it can be.
For sure. What tasks should not be delegated?
That one is a very hard question for me. I would obviously say sex is number one, because you shouldn't be delegating that. But there's some things where, there's like on your phone where you have to send it to your phone. And so like there'll be, a phone number, and you'll have to like send a code or something like that. But besides that, there's
two-step verification, something like
like 2-step verification. Sometimes you can't get away from doing that. But even on those, we have come up with a way to do that. We actually use a phone system called Open Phone that we absolutely love. It's a virtual line, and multiple people can receive that code. So that we've actually taken care of that by taking care of Open Phone. There's very few tasks that I think can't be delegated.
Parenting, right? What do you think about parenting?
Well, yeah, I would say that's for sure. I mean, I think,
I don't know. Like, I think we could debate that. I think somebody else could have raised my son better than me.
Oh, I don't think so.
I think so. I really do. I think that like a parent who had kids before could have raised me and Sherry had no clue. We only had one. So unfortunately, there was no manual, and we just made it up as we went, did the best we could. Right.
Yeah, but you want to spend time with your son. So like that's something that you don't want to delegate.
Time with him. I mean, just raise him. Somebody else.
Yeah, well, I would say like, okay, I know working out. Like you can't delegate that.
Yeah, or
like
health,
that's a perfect example.
Things, right?
Yeah.
Eating
Eating
really
like
hard
you,
to delegate.
You need to eat your own food.
Yeah. Doggone it. You got to eat your own food. You gotta eat your own food, people. So, yeah, I think health related, sex related, parenting definitely are some things and experiences, right? You don't want to delegate experiences. If you like roller coasters, it's really hard to delegate that and feel the same way, right?
Yeah.
So if you love
exactly. You're delegating all the things that you don't love doing. Right. But I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example back to the one about the 80% rule. So Gary Keller actually I went and flew out. I had lunch with him, and he's several times tried to recruit me over to Keller Williams. And I bet if I asked him honestly, do you love recruiting agents? I'm sure he would say, no, I don't love it. Right. So, but he's made the decision that, again, back to the $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000, me having lunch with me, doing a Zoom call with me, right, would definitely be a $10,000 an hour item for him to do. So that's why I say there's going to be about 20% of things that you don't love to do. Right. But as long as they're not the $10 an hour things and they're the $10,000 things, then you should be doing them. Like an NFL player, like I'm sure he doesn't love being away from his family on Thanksgiving and playing on Thanksgiving. Like he'd rather be with his family on Thanksgiving or Christmas Day. But he's making it.
Maybe. I mean, if you've been with my family on Thanksgiving Day, you probably would rather be playing football, even if you weren't good at football. I mean, it's a conversation. Let me tell you, I've lost several girlfriends because of Thanksgivings early in my 20s. So
that's funny.
Yeah, it's a conversation. 5 really strong, independent kids. So, that's but funny. I get what
you know what
saying.
I mean.
I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
They'd much rather be spending the time at home instead of football, but they get paid a lot of money and they can go celebrate on Friday instead of Thursday or Saturday.
Exactly.
They make amends and they make changes. Well, tell us about your book. Is it available for purchase yet?
Yeah, it is. It's out on Amazon.
There it is right there.
Yeah. I've also done the ebook for it. I mean, audio book for it. And it's funny because
you record it?
I recorded it myself. And
you didn't delegate it? You didn't just have AI?
Yes, I actually recorded it myself, and everyone was like, what? You should be delegating that. The whole book is Delegate Everything But Sex. But in my opinion, when an author records their own book, there is just like there's some passion there. There's some things
it's alive.
Be done.
There's an energy.
There's
100%.
an energy there.
People love that I recorded 7L. They love, and it took me forever to do it, but I love that you recorded it. I love it.
Yes.
Okay, and they can get on Amazon?
Yeah.
Anywhere else?
Yeah, it's in everywhere that books are sold right now. Yeah.
Love that. Anything else that you want to share about delegating everything but sex?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that you have to realize when you're delegating is I have a section in my book and I say, are you hiring a sloth or a beaver? And I also give the example of, are you hiring a bike or a Tesla? And what I mean by that is a lot of times people don't like to delegate because whoever they first started delegating with was a sloth, right? Mm-hmm. Sloth is just lazy. They just aren't motivated,
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of hiring somebody who is a beaver, or the other example I give is a bike or a Tesla, like if you think about two different kinds of employees, one's a bike, one's a Tesla. If you're riding a bike, you're pushing the pedals all the time. You have to tell the bike where to go, right? With a Tesla,
Takes a lot of energy.
yes. And with a Tesla, it's self-driving, right? Like you could say, take me to Whole Foods pretty much. And, it's going to take you there. And so what happens is if you've tried to delegate before and it didn't work for you, I really talk about how to make sure you're hiring the right person. And I give really practical tips for what to do to make sure that they are hiring the right person, because that's where people get it really wrong, is they've just hired the wrong person. And then it's so frustrating that they're like, forget it, I'm just going to do it myself.
Yeah. They've given up. And your book's an inspiration for them to not give up. And I think the big thing is like you said about a time millionaire, is you start to trade the 10 for the $100 items. You start doing more 100 and less 10, and then you start doing more 1,000 and less 110. Then you start doing the 10,000 and the 1,000 and giving all of the $1,010 $110 items away, and you're gaining. And the I think the thing here is it's not a form of laziness, right? That's what some people might think about all this is this is a form of, well, no, you're replacing the $10 items with $10,000 items. So it's not like you're just giving $10 away and doing $0, right? You're replacing those lower producing items with the dollar productive activities that is going to make you more money, and you continue to filter it all the way up. Absolutely love the concept. Absolutely love. This is going to be an instrumental and mind-blowing book for people. I really believe that, because of the ideas you give them on what to delegate that maybe they never thought of before. Just like when I went to that wealth building conference, I had never thought about delegating my lawn mowing to someone else. And then I hired someone. I never thought about delegating my sprinkler and moving the sprinkler around the yard to someone else. And then I could get a really affordable sprinkler system, and it does it for me automatically, and I don't even have to think about it, and it covers the whole yard better, and it's cheaper overall. Right?
Yeah. And one thing I talk about in the book that I will tell you that is another really important piece, I call it squashing the speech bubbles. And what that means is, if you look at the comic strips that are out there, these little dialogue bubbles, and like, how one character's like, hey, buddy, and then another one says like, hey, buddy, and they have these little open chat boxes.
Yeah.
Well, I tell everyone that works for me, I say, I have at least 100 of these open every day. And your job is to close those speech bubbles in my head, right? So I love this. There's this show. I saw it probably 5-10 years ago. And it was Kendra Wilkinson Baskins. She's a Playboy model. And she has a show, and she was talking to her assistant. And she says, hey, she talked to her assistant. She goes, did you do this? And the assistant's like, no, I forgot to do that. And then she's like, did you do this? And she's like, oh man, I totally forgot. And finally she like explodes. And she's like, are you my assistant or am I your assistant? Like, all I do all day, I'm sitting here reminding you of everything that you're supposed to be doing. And so, again, I talk about that too, of what you can do and how you get people to squash those speech bubbles. Because as a CEO or as a leader, if those bubbles aren't squashed, the level of stress you have is massive. And so I have actually a whole course on that for our admin of how to squash those speech bubbles.
What a great visual. I see them. I am there 100%. I call it closing loops, right? I've got all these open loops, and it's like up to the team to close the loops, and they need to like know what the loops are to get them closed. And basically they're just tasks that need to be done. kind of like your open bubbles is those are tasks that need to be done. And we need to close loops, right? And it's either me that closes the loop or them closing the loop. And it brings up a great point is you want to be more valuable to multimillionaires. Be great at closing their loops. Be great at squashing their bubbles. The more you're great at that, the more valuable you're going to be. You're going to make more than you ever thought possible. And how do you figure out what those open bubbles are or open loops? You've got to ask, you've got to take down a list, and you've got to figure it out. But when you can do that, you're invaluable. This Chantel, holy crap. I did not know. Honestly, I just saw sex in the title and I told Sherry I was in. And I thought it was going to go a completely different way, Chantel. I just, I put sex and Sherry in the same sentence for the first time in a long time. So it was like, I'm in, like, we're going to do this. And then I kind of came into it like, all right, what is this about? And then as we talk and go into this depth, this is a seminal moment for listeners of the Referrals Podcast. This is the moment they go get the book and they decide to delegate one thing. They just think, is it laundry? Is it lawn care? Is it gardening? Is it washing their car? What is it? And they're going to have something else do it or someone else do it. And they're going to take the journey to where they're delegating everything they hate and they're doing everything they love. And that is going to make a huge difference in their life. I really appreciate you coming on today and just, changing minds and changing lives. That's the truth.
Well, thank you. And you're always changing minds. You're always changing lives. And I love spending time with you. So thanks for having me on.
Aw. Well, just for that, we're going to have to bring you on again. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, go get the book, get it at Amazon or where books are sold. Delegate Everything But Sex with Chantel Ray Finch. You've got to go get it, make that purchase happen. It's a life-changing book. If you just get one idea that helps you let go and have someone else do something that, and here's the other thing. There's people that love to do laundry. There's people that love to do lawn care. They love to move the sprinklers on your yard. They love to weed your garden. They love those things. They feel complete when they do those things. And guess what? If you don't feel complete doing those things, find the people who do feel complete and pay them a little bit, and everyone's happier. Everyone's happy. Speaking of happy, I'm happy. This has been such a great podcast. Chantel Ray Finch, thank you for being our guest here today on Referrals Podcast again.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's the thing. You probably have a supervillain or a superhero in your mind right now, just because I had just asked that. But here's the thing. We are unleashing your superpower at RMS 2024. That's right. The theme for Referral Mastery Summit 2024 in Atlanta, Georgia is Unleash Your Superpower. We're going to show you how to unleash and unchain yourself and get out there and generate referrals and do it based on love, generosity, and appreciation. I hope to see you there. Check it out at rms2024.com. And here's your secret code. RMS Podcast gets you half price general admission ticket this week only. Check it out. Make it happen. And you know what? I know what the next Referrals Podcast is. You're not going to want to miss it. If you like what you heard today and you want to make sure you're on for that one, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you subscribe to Referrals Podcast so that you know what? You can get referrals. We'd love to refer you. Love you. Appreciate you. And we'll see you next time on Referrals Podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Real Life Leadership. If you'd like to get the show notes or access more resources, log on to reallifeleaders.com/podcast to get the show notes from this episode and any other resources we might have mentioned. And also, we'd love to hear from you. Be sure to review or rate this podcast on Apple Podcasts to help spread the word. And if you have any leadership questions you want answered, email podcast@reallifeleaders.com.